Good morning, everybody. It's a lovely day here in Cape Town. Excited to be here. Always love visiting Cape Town. I'm from Joburg. And yes, Barry, some of us do read those terms and conditions, but I know most people don't. I'm quite excited to be here today to chat to you about a topic. It's not as technical as it sounds on the screen. You know, as lawyers, we like to jazz things up and make it sound fancy. So, my topic is AI governance from a development, procurement, and deployment lens. Now, it's not going to be, like I said, as technical. Before we do get into that nitty gritty, I think I should give you a little bit of background, introduce who I am, where I come from, and why I'm talking to you. So, to get started, my name is Azhar Aziz Ismail. I am a lawyer qualified to practice in South Africa. So I am a lawyer, not in the tech side of things. I am a lawyer. I understand the pains that lawyers have, right? But I also am what they call a knowledge manager at an international law firm called Baker McKenzie. Now, if I have to explain to you what a knowledge manager does, we will go down another rabbit hole, and I do have limited time this morning. So we'll leave that for another day. But I wear a few other hats as well. I am the chairperson of the Johannesburg Attorneys Association, and we form part of an umbrella called the Gauteng Attorneys Association. And I know what you're thinking. We're here in Cape Town. Why am I telling you about the Joburg and Gauteng Attorneys Associations? It's just to give you a flavor of sort of where the background comes from, and a lot of the work, at least from the litigation side of things that roll out to the courts nationally, start off in Gauteng. So within the Joburg and Gauteng Attorneys Association side of things, we've been working closely with the judiciary on projects like Court Online and Case Lines. And I know Court Online is something that you guys are starting to use right now. So we are working on things like that. And the reason why I'm talking to you about this is I want to highlight the importance of joining your local attorneys association. Because where you do have challenges, your local attorneys associations do step in and help you navigate through those challenges. Now, I also have a few areas of expertise, and AI is one of them. I am a certified generative AI expert with the Blockchain Council, and I've studied legal tech and innovation studies, and I've done talks like this across Southern Africa. And the reason why I'm prefacing this is it's important for us to understand why I'm sitting in front of you, what lens I'm looking at when it comes to the struggles of attorneys, the challenges faced by attorneys when it comes to using technology, more specifically today, AI. Now, let me begin with this quote that I found. And it's from Professor Ethan Mollick of the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. And he says the single most useful thing you can do to understand AI is to use AI. Now, before everyone jumps and says, okay, let's use AI, we know as lawyers, we need to add a little caveat and those disclaimers. Use it responsibly and appropriately. And that is going to be a large focus of what I'm going to be talking about this morning. Because the legal landscape is changing rapidly. And those who don't adapt will risk falling behind. But at the same time, while we adapt based on our professional duties, we need to be thoughtful, ethical, and grounded in those responsibilities of ours. So, before we talk about the fun parts of AI, I call it fun parts of AI, we need to have an understanding of what is AI. I'd like to see everyone in the room raise their hands and tell me, how many of you have used AI in your day-to-day, in your work? Yeah? For those of you who didn't raise your hands, did you know that AI is not new or novel? It sounds new, novel, and fancy now recently because of generative AI. But AI has been around for years. I was speaking to a partner in a law firm in London recently, and he was busy telling me that when he started his practice as a partner in the early 2000s, he was already working on AI, right? So it's been around. Do you know that when you're typing a document out on Word, right, or any equivalent of Word, you're using AI? Just spell check. It's a form of AI. Because the reason why we don't realize it is because we're conditioned around AI as hype that it is today. Another person I was speaking to from my firm this time was explaining to me when he started his practice and he started working also in London, email was new to the law firm environment. And it was this big hype in London. And everyone was like, it's going to transform the way that we work. And everyone was worried and worried. If we look at email today, do you even give it a second thought or as a tool? It's second nature to use email today. So very similarly, when we look at AI, yes, it's the buzz today, but it is something that will and should integrate into our lives. So let's start off at understanding what is AI. There we go. Right. So AI is the simulation of human intelligence and human intelligence processes, but it's by machines. Now, it does three things. The first thing that it does is it's going to learn. So it takes in all the information you can give it. It takes in all the rules on how to use the information. That's the first thing that it does. Then we go further, and it starts with reasoning. Now, that's where it takes the rules that you've given it, and it applies it to the information that it has. And then the last part is self-correction. That is the simplest way I can break down AI. You can go deeper. You can go a lot more technical. There are so many subfields of AI as well. You've got machine learning and natural language processing and deep learning. And all of these things enable the systems to learn from data, recognize patterns, and make decisions with minimal human intervention. Remember that, minimal human intervention. So we're not saying we're removing the humans from the process. We're just saying there's going to be minimal intervention in certain elements of it. Now, within the legal side of things, this would look at recognizing patterns in case law, understanding legal language, and solving certain complex problems. In the realm of legal, or rather in the legal realm, when we look at AI, when we look at legal technology, they play a crucial role in a lot of different things. In my role, it plays a big role in knowledge management. But because we can streamline processes, we can analyze vast data sets, we can provide valuable insights for legal professionals across the world. And all of this is at your fingertips. But this is not just about efficiency. Remember, as lawyers, our business is law. We are not just lawyers. It is the business of law, and part of any good business is client satisfaction, right? Your client must be satisfied. You need to be more than just efficiency, but it's also about access to justice. So, moving a bit more quicker into some of the use of AI in law. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into this, right? But let's start at some of these use cases. I'm going to click this way because that's where it's changing. So, the first place is legal research. You can filter through precedents, case law, statutes to provide information. It accelerates your research processes for more informed decisions. It can also summarize and extract information. But it's important to also understand the tools that you use, because there's different types of tools that you get. You've got open source tools and closed source tools. The open tools, which search the wide internet, and we know the internet does contain incorrect information. But then you've got closed tools, which searches closed sets of data. In the South African market, you're getting more and more of our vendors starting to release AI products. And there's a few of them that's out there. I see LexisNexis is here today. They've recently launched their Lexis Plus AI. Sabinet has a version that they're using on AI. And each Juta has some AI offering as well. And all of these tools may not necessarily say AI in it, but it incorporates the element of AI that makes your searches quicker and better. You can look at contract management. This can be done within your business of law, meaning you managing contracts with your vendors. And also, you're looking at how you manage the contracts of your clients. You can extract data, classify these documents, and it can help streamline processes massively. You've got e-discovery and due diligence. Vast volumes of data can now be done for discovery a lot quicker than you could before. There still is human process in it, but you're assisted by AI. You can have virtual room solutions for document classification and for due diligence. We also have legal and deep analytics, providing analytical services to your clients, make them feel valuable. We've got intellectual property. Now, there's multiple sides of intellectual property. We're not going to go into the debate on whose IP comes out of generative AI, because that is another topic. But it can support you if you've got an IP practice in identifying similar trademarks and patent searches. Then you've got expert automation and chatbots. I mentioned to you guys that we've got client satisfaction. Chatbots will help differentiate you from your peers. It will give your clients a value add and a personal level. And then e-billing. You may have heard about this a little bit earlier today. There's a lot of solutions that help e-billing being taken to the cloud and really help you refine your processes and, again, be on the move and immediate to your clients, because that's what clients want today. They want you to be quick. They want you to be now. They want you to be cheap. But they want that quality. And that AI will help you with. So, as lawyers, we've got an ethical duty. We've got a professional duty. Now, we know that there's different challenges that come with AI. Part of these challenges include hallucinations. We've heard a lot about it in the law. There's so many other challenges that's out there, like confidentiality and IP. But those are all things we need to consider. Because we know that AI hallucinates, right? And even if we didn't know that it hallucinates, we have a duty to make sure that the information we're giving is correct. And we're not misrepresenting anyone nor the court. And that's why we have a strong responsibility, as we've seen in recent case law, to make sure that we are working in a way that we verify information. Now, within the Africa space, we've got a lack of regulation. That doesn't mean you do what you want. We've got international best practices, but now we've got case law that guide us. So, I want to talk about the Mavunla judgment very briefly. The Mavunla judgment was in March this year in KZN, and they specifically spoke about AI. The legal practitioners did not say they use AI, but the court suspected they use AI because the cases did not exist. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes to this use of AI, we've seen that it hallucinates. And the courts have been referring legal practitioners to the Legal Practice Council because it is misconduct. And that's not only happening in South Africa, it's happening across the board. We also had a more recent judgment called northbound processing, and northbound processing reiterated some of these principles. So I've extrapolated some principles that you need to very quickly be aware of. The first thing is you need to verify information. Verify that that case, the citation, that article exists. Verify it. Once you're done with verification, then you need to move over to what they call due diligence. Make sure that the content actually does exist or is correct. The interpretation is correct. The content is correct. So you need to now check your information. The same way you would as if a trainee gave it or a junior gave it to you. You're checking what's given to you. You're making sure that that interpretation is correct. When we do legal research and we come across an article that talks about a case, we don't just take that to be the position, right? We go and read that case. Very similarly, you're going to do this with AI. And you are still saving time, but you're also checking that information. The Mavunla judgment emphasized on this. There needs to be supervision. not only on your juniors, but also on your AI tools. Law firms, please don't say no completely to AI, because people will still use it on their phones. And when they use AI on their phones, we're now going to be opening up ourselves to risk. And those risks include a breach of confidentiality and privilege. It could be IP infringements, because the tools have different tiers of licenses. And depending on the tool that you use, right, you've got a certain license level that you have, you've got different levels of protection. So as lawyers, you need to check that. You need to be transparent. So before we go to transparency, so rather develop a policy saying, this is a tool that we're buying for you. Use this tool. And in using this tool, we're making sure you can use it responsibly. Or if you're not buying a tool, create guidelines for your lawyers to say, don't put confidential information in, don't put personal information in. So you create those guidelines. There's a Rebus article I'll put up on the screen. And if you see the Rebus article, it'll give you some starting off guidelines for that policy. You need to have transparency internally and externally when you use AI. You need to use AI responsibly. And you need to remember confidentiality. So you look at your license and you look at what that license allows you and provides to you, right? Because even some paid versions don't give you full protection. You need to make sure that you've got time recording, is you correctly recording your time. Don't charge for things you didn't do. And you need to make sure that you don't practice law in jurisdictions you're not qualified to practice. Just because I've got ChatGPT or Lexis Plus AI or Gemini, that doesn't mean I can now go to Ghana because I'm not licensed to practice in Ghana. So I want to close off here with a slide where you can look at, you can scan with the Rebus. And when you look at the, you can scan this QR code. It's some guidelines written by my colleague from the Pretoria Tennis Association, Conrad van der Vever, and his guidelines will help you understand how to start off creating your policy. You do need to build on it. So those are some really high-level points that I can talk to you about. There is so much more. We can talk about prompting. That is in a whole other session on its own. You can also talk about, and prompting is changing. You may not need to focus as much time on a prompt. Very briefly, when I talk about prompting, you're going to give it context depending on the tool that you're using. You're going to speak to it, right? You're going to say, you're going to break down your conversations and you're going to follow all those processes through. Give it that context, give it examples. I seen someone on LinkedIn uploading a template document saying, use this template to complete my, and follow this format to complete my generative AI tool. So you follow those processes through, and in following those processes through, you're going to then get better outputs. Because how many of you guys have experienced it that when you put something into generative AI, you don't get the output you want? It's either international law or it's incorrect information. But the more information you give it, think of it as a trainee that has started today or a child. The more information you give it, the more information you're going to get out, the more accurate the information you're going to get out. I want to close with a quote. I don't know who said it. I found it on LinkedIn, and that person also didn't know who said it. But the question is not whether or not legal professionals should adapt to AI. It's whether you'll still be relevant if you don't. Thank you very much.